What up, peeps? It seems like that I'm feeling led right now to make this video about how to fast. How do you fast? About fasting. Man, fasting is like so many people just completely undermine fasting. It's like when we undermine prayer, we undermine reading, we undermine being the physical embodiment of Jesus' teaching. We undermine really feeding the spirit and denying the flesh, of turning away from instant gratification, from selfish ambition. I'm going to use the word right here to go through about what is fasting, why should we fast, and how to fast. So, what is fasting? Well, throughout the Bible, when anyone is fasting, fasting is, well, both biblically and just the definition of fasting. It's literally just not eating food. That's it. Not eating food. That is fasting. So why do we fast? Why is it important to fast? Well, it is important to fast because when we are feeding the flesh, when we are always feeding the flesh, out feeding the flesh and underfeeding the spirit can become quiet. It can become conceited, right? We can quench the spirit. That's what the word actually tells us, is that we're able to quench the spirit, and that's not a good thing. And how do we not quench the spirit? By doing things of the spirit, by placing focus and priority on the spirit, by feeding it with its soul food in prayer, in fellowship, right? Into having a gospel-centered life and a Christ-focused sort of living, right? Not just having a life that's God-themed, but a life that's God-centered, right? Prioritizing of God. It's from taking away the needs, it's taking away the wants of the flesh, the hungers and the desires of the flesh. It's putting it into submission and putting all focus, all attention, all priority on your spiritual needs, onto God, completely pushing away any distractions and desires of the world, of the flesh, pushing that away and pulling yourself to God, literally. Because when you stop eating, you stop placing focus on what your flesh wants, and you start placing all of your focus on what your spirit needs, which is God. How do you fast? Well, how you fast is you pick a day or days to fast. You pick a duration of time you're fasting, right? And always have a reason for your fasting, right? It could be just to simply grow closer to God, be able to hear his voice more, to have a breakthrough, for repentance, or whatever it could be, right? Like for a change of mind, you know what I mean? Usually, especially when we've seen Jesus fast, remember he fasted before he started his ministry. He fasted before he chose his 12 disciples. So there's a reason why fasting is just important, right? Especially then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. If you've never fasted, I would say start with like fasting for a single meal, and then work your way up to like probably maybe fasting for 5 hours, right? And then work it up to like you're fasting for a whole day now. It's really just up to you how far you want to take it. But also, this is pretty crazy. In that same chapter, after he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. Then the tempter approached him and said, "If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread." But Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16 to 17, it says, "Therefore we do not give up, even though our outer person is being destroyed, our inner person is being renewed day by day. For our momentary light affliction is producing for us an absolutely incomparable eternal weight of glory. So we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. So even in just these 2 verses, this says a lot. It says, therefore we do not give up. Even though our outer person is being destroyed, our flesh is being destroyed. That old creation, it's dying. It's dying because we're no longer living in the flesh. But our inner person is being renewed day by day. That's the spirit that gives us life. Focus on what is eternal than what is temporary, right? Because what's eternal, it's forever. What is temporary is not forever. So we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. We don't focus on the flesh, but we focus on the spirit. And it can be hard, especially when you're feeding the flesh. The flesh is going to be loud. The flesh is going to be strong. It's going to like strong arm the spirit, and you're going to start to be like hard hearing of the spirit. So that's why when you put the flesh into submission and you place all of your focus onto God, onto pulling yourself to God, anchoring yourself in his word, being fervent in prayer, never lacking diligence and zeal. And when you place your attention onto your spiritual needs, not your fleshly needs, it's like going Super Saiyan, right? You know how Goku goes Super Saiyan and like powers up? Fasting is when our spirit goes Super Saiyan and powers up. But yeah, literally, what is fasting? It's abstaining from food. That's what it is. It shows us in the Bible time and time again about how fasting is just not eating, right? There can be some people that are like, I'm fasting from social media. I'm fasting from video games. But that's more of a sacrifice, right? That's more of a sacrifice. Because you don't need that to survive, really. That's something you can just give to God. It's like, here, God, this thing that takes up time and attention, I'm giving it to you. And spending that otherwise more on you. You know what I mean? So it's more of a sacrifice. It's not really fasting. Just keeping in consistency with what fasting is, abstaining from food, from eating, for a duration of time, picking a day, picking the amount of time you wish to fast, but not just going through it about like, oh, okay, let me get this fasting over with. It's like, you be more intentful with the fast. Be more intentful with how you're spending time in the fast, right? Like completely put away the phone, put away social media, put away the games. Have just time and space with you and God, not your phone, not people, right? That's not to say that you just lock yourself up. Like you can make a quick trip to like go to the grocery store or like hang out with your family or something for a little bit, but it's like, don't let that consume your day, but be more focused on using this as your food instead of physical food, right? What is seen, that is temporary, instead what is forever, just like what Jesus has said. And then why is fasting important? It's important because our flesh fights against us. Our flesh is fighting us until we leave this flesh. So when we're able to put it into submission, when we're able to quiet the flesh and turn up the volume all the way in the spirit and focus on the spiritual needs, putting a greater focus and attention on God, it pulls us closer to him. Yeah, it also says in Matthew 6:16-18, it says, whenever you fast. It doesn't say if you fast. It says whenever you fast. Don't be gloomy like the hypocrites, because they disfigure their faces on purpose so that their fasting is obvious to people, so they get praise from people. Truly, I tell you, they have their reward already. But when you fast, wash your face and comb your hair, so that your fasting isn't obvious to others, but to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. But that's pretty much what it is. And I would say definitely don't overlook fasting, right? Like there's so much more into fasting, about how some demons can only be casted out through prayer and fasting. I would encourage you to look more into it too, right? In the Bible, maybe on videos, whatever it may be. That's the video, and I love y'all so much. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.